Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allivo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. Also, today's program brought to you in part by the United Soybean Board, your soybean checkoff working for you. Well, under clear skies, I've got 59 degrees on the barn thermometer. Should be another beautiful day. A thank you to everybody that stopped by the Ohio's Country Journal and Ohio AgNet barn at Farm Science Review. A great 3-day run, and hats off to Nick Zackridge and everybody on the staff that put together another great show. A couple quick calendar reminders. Powered by Soy Biodiesel. Join Dale at midday today as he will be out at the Ashland County Fair. That's been running all week long. Also coming up later on this evening, the Jackson County Regional Livestock Market will have a bred cow sale that starts at 6 o'clock p.m. Visit jcrlm.com, your livestock authority. And then next Wednesday, Farm Credit Mid-America will be joining us during midday as we have our monthly update, and Dale checks in on all the great work they're doing financing Ohio's farmers. Joining me today, I have Kylie Holbrook and Mackenzie Joseph with the Ohio Soybean Council. Ladies, thanks so much for your time. You guys just got back from a big trip over to Japan. Kylie, tell me a little bit about it. What was the purpose of the trip, and where'd you go?
So we were there with the United Soybean Export Council on their annual learning mission, and really the purpose of this trip was to go and explore kind of how USEC works in other countries and how they help market Ohio and the U.S. soybeans to other countries internationally.
So how many folks participated?
We had 29 farmers and staff from 12 different qualified soybean states in the U.S., so it was a pretty large group over there.
That sounds like it. Well, Mackenzie, I'm curious. Some of the different things you guys got to see or learn about while you were there.
Yeah, so we actually were able to travel to both South Korea and Japan. So starting off our trip in South Korea, we jumped right into it with our first visit to a crushing plant. So getting to see, firsthand oil from U.S. soybeans being produced. So then in that afternoon, we got to go to the Incheon port. So another element of the soybean supply chain, getting to see U.S. beans coming into that port. Continuing on with the trip, we got to see a soy milk facility. We got to see feed mills. We also were fortunate enough to have USAC staff brief us on each of these markets when we arrived to both of the countries, giving us an overview of the market at the time, the use of soy and the variations in those markets, both of them having an emphasis on the food grade element as well as use for feed and other items such as skincare, especially in the Korean market. But it was really overall just a way to see kind of every element of the soybean supply chain and how those markets are utilizing American and Ohio soybeans.
Very good. Kylie, I'm curious, maybe some of the, not necessarily takeaways, but surprises to you, things you didn't expect on the trip.
Yeah, so I guess me being new with the Ohio Soybean Council, I didn't quite realize the complexity of the U.S. soy market internationally. So when we went to specifically South Korea, they're very well developed when it comes to U.S. soy. A lot of their products that use U.S. soy have this marketing label that says sustainable U.S. soy. And it says it right there on the package. They have it on buses that drive around the city. It's really all over the place because they rely so heavily on the sustainability that we can provide here in the U.S. So that was a huge surprise to me going over there.
Kenzie, same question.
Just from the communications perspective, the people that we talked to there and how they talked about U.S. soy and like Kylie said, the preference for it and really seeing that quality for U.S. soy. I was also surprised just learning about the populations of these countries and how much they depend on importing not only U.S. soy but other agricultural products to sustain their population. I think half of the population of South Korea lives in the Seoul greater area. So even just being there and looking at that and thinking about all of the products that we were bringing over to feed the city that I was literally looking at in front of me, it was just really interesting to wrap my head around that.
Very good. Again, my guests today, Kylie Holbrook and Mackenzie Joseph, both with the Ohio Soybean Council, talking about their learning mission to Japan, all that part of the U.S. Soy Export Council, or otherwise known as USEC. Ladies, thanks for your time. Let's take a look now at your Friday morning weather forecast brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com.
Dry weather continues to dominate the landscape near term, but we have some signs of change that we're starting to talk up a little bit more. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at your forecast update. Watching a large-scale upper-level low just rotate to our west here as we finish the week. That's going to be trying to throw some moisture into the Great Lakes region, probably the second half of the weekend, later Sunday and Sunday afternoon, maybe into Monday and Tuesday of next week. So we're going to be seeing on-again, off-again showers there. But as that system dies out and the low kicks off to the east and northeast, a second system gets going. Low pressure coming together in Texas and near the Oklahoma border. That low is going to slowly but surely track through the mid-Mississippi River Valley as we move through next week, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley. Long and short of it is it has a great moisture source off the Gulf of Mexico, and it's going to be slowly moving. It has not caught a ride on the jet stream yet. That means we're going to be looking at potentially good moisture rotating through the state of Ohio next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday as well, in addition to that Monday, Tuesday rain that we've been talking about for the past few days. So that means we could be looking at harvest delays here for the entire week next week if you need that last finishing rain. And there are a few places of green out there that could probably use it. That's coming too, but definitely having some moisture start to develop here after plenty of dryness as of late. Temperatures are going to be held in check by the clouds and the moisture, but I don't think we're looking at super cool air right away. That's going to be coming behind a front early the week of the 29th. I see cool Canadian air coming in as we get ready to flip that calendar into October. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Biodiesel isn't just a fuel, it's a game changer for your engine, your wallet, and your farm. Cleaner burning and efficient, biodiesel enhances engine life, power, and fuel economy. Plus, it delivers real value, adding $1.33 to every bushel of soybeans grown. That's 13% more value per bushel, directly tied to the biofuels market. Ready to turn soybeans into power and drive with purpose? Learn how at soyohio.org.
I'm joined today by Chad Warner. Chad is a soybean farmer here in the Buckeye State, also a member of the Ohio Soybean Council, and Chad, probably a title we could add, is World Traveler, as you have literally been all around the world right now on behalf of Ohio's soybean farmers. I guess let's start off, first off, a place I have to go back and look on the map, Uganda. Tell us where Uganda's at, and what was your trip there about?
Yeah, well, so back in June, we had traveled to Uganda, which is a country, landlocked country in East Africa. In there, we attended their African Aquaculture Conference. So there was farmers, feed millers, everything to do with aquaculture there. And we did some breakout sessions where we worked with farmers on how to improve their operations. And in the end, that's to generate more demand for soy products.
Sure, that makes sense. What does aquaculture look like in a country like Uganda that's landlocked? Is it similar to how we think of as commercial inland fish farming in America, or is it more primitive, more advanced?
Well, so Uganda sits on Lake Victoria, which is the second largest lake in the world. So they have some aquaculture out there, and then they have pond and raceway systems, aquaculture inland as well. They've fished the Lake Victoria to almost its extinction, and it's not sustainable. So now there's a more of a push to do inland aquaculture or do aquaculture out on the lake, but providing the food for the fish out there with using soy in the diet as their protein source to make it more sustainable.
Very interesting. Well, from there you had some more recent travels. Tell us about that and a slightly different organization within the soybean family.
Yeah, so and then in August I had traveled with WISH, World Initiative for Human and Soy Health. There we went to Cambodia and did the closing ceremonies for a project, for the Cambodian project, where it was one of the first WISH projects that was done, and we were able to see what the aquaculture and poultry industry was prior to and then after this 7-year project, measuring on what impact the project did and how much demand it created for soy.
A lot of interesting work going on all around the world on behalf of not only Ohio soybean farmers, but U.S. soybean farmers with these projects. Things maybe that we wouldn't normally think of as just generating demand, but actually building the infrastructure, building that knowledge base behind it to then be able to sell soybeans into those regions.
Yeah, the WISH goes in and they start the conversations and start the training and to teach people all about soy. And it's you have to start somewhere to help offset some of our loss, the losses that we've experienced here with the tariffs and the loss of China. So we got folks out there working for us to establish those markets.
Well said. Again, my guest today is Chad Warner, a farmer here from Ohio that's also been traveling the world literally on behalf of Ohio soybean growers. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your markets after this.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
It's time now for today's market analysis, brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC.
Another weaker day in the marketplace on a Friday. At the end of the trading session, we were pretty much red in all commodity groups. Corn, soybeans, and wheat all sagged yesterday as the U.S. row crop harvest is gaining speed. There is some debate out there over the Midwest corn and soybean yield. And look, from most of the soybean comments that I got yesterday, most folks are saying it's okay to maybe even a little bit better than expected. Now, true, expectations were not very good because of the lack of rainfall in August. I had one farmer say that at least in central Indiana, there's a lot of very, very, very small beans. We didn't see beans get aborted out of pods or pods get aborted, but the beans are small. If we would have had rain, it would be an absolutely massive crop. So that's what we're hearing out there. Grain option volatility continues to contract to the lowest levels in decades. That underscores that few are worried about a longer-term supply availability problem. The U.S. is going to harvest a record large corn crop. Most researchers out there saying that yield is unlikely to go under 182. The market has a heavy feel so far, and it looks like we may close the week with another heavy kind of feeling day. Soybeans, downside leader yesterday. Another week passed without Chinese demand. A year ago, China already had purchased 6.5 million metric tons, or about 240 million bushels of U.S. soybeans. Season-to-date exports are currently at 23.1 million bushels. President Trump and Chinese President Xi are expected to discuss the TikTok sale here soon this morning. 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Whether Trump will broaden the discussion beyond TikTok is unknown. I'm telling you right now, he won't. But the market is also digesting the apparent moving toward a Trump-Xi talk in person on the sidelines of the APEC conference in early November. That's been telegraphed or rumored for a while, but it sounds like it's getting closer to being booked overall. So that's going to be the main story. Again, that's going to happen in South Korea in November. Maybe we see a little bit of a change, but right now most are thinking there's no real thought that Trump ends the 20% tariffs on all Chinese goods in order to restart soybean purchases. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Today's USDA September 1 cattle on feed report will be one of potential surprises again. The fact remains that the large percentage of producers elected to market their calves earlier this year than normal as they wanted to take advantage of the strong prices the market was offering. Not to mention the U.S. border remains closed to all Mexican cattle imports, which has exacerbated the limited supplies of feeder cattle in the U.S., all while the domestic U.S. beef cow herd still sits at a historic multi-decade low. But for those analysts analysts who believe the placement numbers may not have been as low as some assumed. Their logic most likely stems from the fact that the fall run is fully underway. Let's take a look now at how your markets closed, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, December corn closed down 3 cents, and March corn was also down 3 cents. November soybeans closed down 6 1/4, while January soybeans were down 6 1/2 cents. December Kansas City wheat closed the day down 6 1/4 cents, while December Chicago wheat was down 4 cents, and December Minneapolis wheat was down 2 1/4. The positive numbers continued in the overnight trade as we have December corn trading up 2 1/4 cents at $4.26. November new crop beans up 5 1/2 cents at $10.43, and wheat for December trading 2 cents higher at $5.26 1/4 cents. In livestock, October live cattle ended the day up $1.27 1/2, $232.37 1/2, and October lean hogs closed 15 cents higher at $97.47 1/2. You're listening to the Ohio AgNet.